Welcome everyone to another episode of Elbows Tight Podcast. It's your host Travis and John. How you doing today, John?
I'm doing excellent.
Good. We have our very special friend today, but before we get into that, John, what we got beverage of the day?
We have a real special treat today. We've got some White Claw hard seltzer. I'm drinking natural lime. I like it.
I'm drinking blackberry.
Ashley, what do you have over there?
I have a ruby grapefruit.
I'm staying away from grapefruit.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and not drink that.
It tastes pretty good. I don't know what we're working with here. 5% alcohol. That's not too bad.
Yeah,
Pretty
it's actually not bad.
And since it's water, we're not actually drinking. We're hydrating. I think that's the way that works, right? That's why people drink hard waters, right?
Is that why you chose it?
It was just, I don't know. I figured as the first girl, it was my civic duty to bring White Claws.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
So that's
not
the
too bad.
beverage of the day. We'll have it up on the Instagram along with our typical photos. So if you guys, real quick, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, like our page on Facebook. Go ahead and pause for a second. Go subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcasting platform. Leave us a review. A 5-star review would greatly appreciate it. Write a review too. Write us a review on Yelp. No, we're not on Yelp. But yeah, please go do that. It greatly increases our chances of getting found. And also, it's good to know that we're doing a good thing out here and people are enjoying the content. So, but other than that, John, who do we have?
We have Ashley Villanueva.
Villanueva.
I was so close. I was like, man, I'm going to butcher that last name. We're excited to have her on the show. She's our first female guest on the show, so we're excited about that. Me and Travis have been talking about it, like, we need to get someone. We really wanted to get her on. She's also a blue belt. We'll be interested to get her story. Ashley trains with us at the gym. I don't know much else, like history-wise, as far as her jiu-jitsu, other than she used to compete, right?
Back in the day, yep.
Back in Nam.
In my golden days.
Yeah. So, Ashley, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Ashley. I'm pretty kind of just boring. I sit at home. I go to jiu-jitsu sometimes. Me and my husband, we like motorcycles. I'm married.
Oh, nice.
No kids. We have 2 dogs, though. Boxer, Greyhound. Loves of my life.
Oh,
They're
what are
great.
their names?
Dodger and Lily.
Shout out to Dodger and Lily.
Shout
there
out
you
to
go.
Dodger and Lily. I guess I started training jiu-jitsu in 2013. It was my freshman year of college. And I remember being on the phone with my dad during winter break, and I was still living on campus, and I said, "Hey, Dad, thinking about getting a 3rd job on top of college because winter break's kind of boring. Everybody went home to see their families, and I just wanted something to fill the time." And my dad was like, "Dude, you're crazy. You don't need 3 jobs in college. That's insane." And so I go, "Well, what am I going to do then?" He goes, "You know what? Try out jiu-jitsu." And then he recommended a place out where I was living. I was out in the Kirkland Bellevue area.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just dropped in the next day and I started training for a while. And then I got married and moved here, took some time off, and eventually found you guys. And so,
small world.
Yeah, but I did train jiu-jitsu at Elite Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu out in Bellevue for about 3 years before I moved here, and that's where I was competing out of and training out of, and that's where I got my blue belt.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So how did does your dad train? Is that why he said the one thing was to go do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or is it because you're on a college campus and it was kind of something that also to help you, in that environment also?
Yeah, so my dad, he grew up in Canada. He was on the wrestling team, and then when he joined the Army, he came to the States and eventually got tied into jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
There's a place that he trains at. He trains with Jelson, actually, down at
really?
253 BJJ.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
And he was trying to get me into jiu-jitsu forever, and then I remember in high school, I went into a class, I tried it out, and I was like, I don't want to roll around with these sweaty guys. That's not my thing.
That is the same consensus everyone gives us.
Yeah. And then when I went in college, the difference with the school that I was starting at there in Kirkland at Elite was my professor was a beautiful 115-pound woman.
Really?
And she was talented and so kind and smart. And I was just like, man, she can do it, and roll around with all these sweaty guys.
Right.
It seems really fun, and, it's good exercise. And so I eventually brought it on. There was a good group of women out there that I just bonded with and loved a lot.
And never looked back.
Never looked back.
How long you said you trained 3 years consecutively?
Yeah, so I took the summers off.
Yeah.
If I were to go home or go on trips or whatever. So typically took summers off for those 3 years. But throughout the school year, I would train there.
Oh, okay.
So.
Where's home?
Home for me is in Tacoma.
Oh, okay. So are you originally from the
P&W? Yeah.
I was like, how do I say this?
Yeah. Grew up in Tacoma, which is just
Okay.
45 minutes south of Seattle, and then went to college out near Seattle, Bellevue area,
Okay.
and then got married, moved myself out here to Kitsap County in Bremerton.
Nice. What brought you out here?
My husband's in the Navy.
Oh,
so
okay.
Moved
Okay.
out here to.
I was about to say most people end up
Yeah.
here because of the Navy. Like John
Yeah.
ended up here, I ended up here, all because of the Navy.
I love
so.
it here, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the beautiful scenery. Every once in a while, you'll catch yourself like, this is where I live. You know, it's like it's absolutely beautiful here.
Mm-hmm.
The trees, the greenery, and everything like that is really nice too. So, and then you go on the other side of the water, it's like overpopulated, no trees,
Too much traffic.
too much traffic.
Don't miss
It's-
the traffic.
Yeah, it's like completely opposite of the way it is over here. So,
Right.
how'd you meet your husband?
Actually, my car broke down in Seattle, and he helped me.
Oh, that's
Really?
Yeah, it was actually like a rom-com type of meeting. So, yeah, I just needed a jump, and I said, hey, he had a car there, and so I said, hey, can you give me a jump? Do you have a car? Totally used him.
That's
and
funny.
he was like, yeah, and then he was like, text me when you get home safe, and gave me his number, and rest is history.
Yeah. It
Smooth
worked
man.
out.
I
That
know.
is a smooth man.
Gentlemen, take notes. Take notes. It worked.
How did you find the gym you're going to now?
So, I think Facebook.
Facebook.
I think Facebook. I was trying to train at Hybrid, but their schedule wasn't really working with my work schedule, and I didn't
okay.
really, I don't know, feel a bond with anybody that I met there. And I
Really?
was just, Chris was really nice. I love Chris. He's
Yeah.
awesome. But everybody else there, I mean, I think because people come and go all the time, they have their friends and
Right,
they
right,
train with
yeah.
who they train with. And then I tried out a school in Gig Harbor, and that was a journey. I trained in Tacoma for a little while. That was a journey. And then eventually I saw the school here. And when Alvin came, I was just like, okay, cool. Like, they seem really legit. I'm just going to go check it out.
Oh, so you're saying Cody's not legit? Is
No,
it?
no. Cody is absolutely legit.
I know you've rolled with him by now.
That man is.
He is absolutely legit. Don't get me wrong. But I didn't really find out too much about the school until Alvin was there. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know, looked into where he came from. And then I was like, I think this is probably a good place. I like smaller gyms.
Really?
So.
Yeah, we're definitely smaller in the sense right now, except for some classes. I mean,
It's
you've been there. We
growing.
get
Yeah.
we get quite a few people in some classes. Sometimes we have it feels like 30 people on that mat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you're like bumping each other. But I don't know. I embrace the small gym aspect because when I first came to Washington, the CrossFit side was 2 racquetball courts inside a gymnastics gym, and it was barely enough room for you to coach a class or let alone drop a barbell, or the floor was uneven, right? So I enjoy the small class aspect and the
Yeah.
smaller mat size and kind of bumping into each other. You know, I think it adds to the ambiance of what
Yeah.
you're doing. You know what I mean? So,
And I saw you guys working out there because my kids were in gymnastics, but I didn't know him at the time.
yeah.
But I would see them working out in that rack, and I was like, no way in hell am I paying to go. And then, not a chance.
Yeah, that was that's what a lot of us think of as the golden era of CrossFit. So it was a lot of fun there. But so you competed a little bit,
Yeah.
or quite a bit?
Actually, quite a bit, a couple times
Really?
a year. And so I compete. My first competition was actually within the first 2 months of me joining.
Wow.
jiu-jitsu.
Really?
Was it Revolution?
No, it was. I don't even remember what it's called. I did terribly. It was up at the Edmonds Community
Okay.
College.
Oh, okay, like where Jelson fights.
Yeah, I think it was. It wasn't Naga. It was a really small one.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not do well at all. But it was a lot of fun. It was a good.
Were you
experience
hooked
for
right
me.
away?
Yeah, right away when I started training at that gym. I was just cross-training everywhere I could because at that time Elite had, they're called T3MA martial arts now. And so
Okay.
if you see them at competitions, that's what they've rebranded to. But at the time, there was 4 maybe different Elite schools where if you had a membership at one, you could go to any of the other
That's
ones.
cool.
And so I was going between Bellevue, Bothell. There was one in Everett, and just if I had work or something, then I just go to the Everett location from Bellevue and train there.
That's legit.
Because their schedule just worked that way. And so made a lot of friends from it. And I learned really quickly too. And so
Right.
that was my first competition. And then I did a couple more at white belt. And then I've done one competition at blue belt. And so
You win any?
so I got silver once,
Nice.
and then 2 bronze.
Nice.
And I think I've done a total of 4 competitions.
I like the way you had to think about it. I'd have been able to rattle it off right away. I had a silver and dude. You know,
These are
me
all
and you
big
talked
things.
about competition before. I don't even know if you remember it.
I don't know.
It was on a Friday afternoon class. Phil was there. It was
Friday
me, you.
afternoon.
Yeah, I took Friday off, so I made it to one of those Friday classes.
Oh, okay.
But we
Okay.
talked about competing. I was like, I'm never competing. No, I'm not interested at all. And neither is Travis. But both of us will be competing next month. So
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
opinions have changed a tad bit.
Yeah. I figured, like, I don't know. It's a weird thing competing in jiu-jitsu to me, because like we always talk about, we didn't start to compete. We started just because we wanted to try it out. And then the more that I do it, the more I'm like, well, I kind of do want to see how I hold up against everyone else. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like, I kind of
right.
do want to see how our school is and how all that is and whatnot. So, but I don't know. Next month we'll see. John actually went to the competition and he saw it and saw
Yeah,
that.
I dropped in at hybrid and rolled there, and then I went and watched the competition, and I was like, Jesus, this looks no different than what happened when I dropped in at hybrid and when we roll at class. Like, it didn't seem any different, so I was like, all right, it's not
Yeah.
that bad. I thought it was going to be like a couple like wild bears throwing each other around.
No, it wasn't.
I watched it. I was like, okay, it's not that bad. It's controlled. Like,
Yeah, it definitely is controlled.
Yeah.
yeah.
What was your favorite moment of competing?
I think my favorite moment with competing is it's a way to quantify how well you're doing.
Yeah.
And so my first competition, obviously, I tapped out in like the first 30 seconds, I think,
Really?
in my first match. Yeah, I did terribly. But I learned from it. I learned what I needed to work on. And then moving forward throughout the years, the different competitions that I did, I was able to say, oh, man, I got a bronze. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I
that's
got a
legit.
silver. And I was able to really track my progress there. And I think that was the coolest part. And then the other part is like cheering on your teammates.
Yeah.
You
that
know?
was pretty cool. Yeah.
It's so much fun to be able to see your friends doing well.
Right,
To
yeah.
be able to be like, yeah, I saw you kill that right there. You know, especially when you're working on moves together in class.
Right.
And, you know, they're struggling with, say, an arm bar from a certain position, and you see them land it in a competition. You're like, man, this is what you've been working hard for this whole time.
Right.
So,
What's up, John? What you looking for?
Check my plug. Never mind. You're good. I think the dog hit something over there.
No problem. We'll probably just edit all this out because this dude keeps hitting the dang table underneath. So usually you don't hear it in the recording, but just in case. Where was I at?
Get away from me.
Bro, get out of here. So
Travis's dog is messing with us
yeah,
right
he's
now.
like
I don't know what's
always
going
like
on.
I'm just waiting for Lauderdale to get home so she could take care of him. Oh no, don't get him running. Now he's in like run all over the Oh, don't do that. So would you recommend to people to compete within their first 2 months? Because Lauderdale has been doing 2 classes, and I'm gonna try to get her to sign up for next month.
I mean, I probably wouldn't recommend it.
Really?
In so quickly, just because, you know, you're still learning the fundamentals. But if she goes out there, I mean, there's not much she could lose. She's going to go out there, feel what it's like to be yelled at by her coach. Like, hey, no,
Right,
you know,
right.
you need to do this, that, or the other. Feel what real pressure is like, because people go much harder, I feel like, at competitions than they would typically in class.
Right.
And you also don't have that personal bond. Like, that's, you know, when you look at someone in competition, you're not like, that's my friend.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, whereas in class, I want to be considerate to what I'm doing, you know, sparring with you guys, because you guys are my friends. you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And so
Exactly.
it's a much different dynamic, but it's also controlled. So she's probably not going to get hurt.
Yeah.
But
That
and
was.
and the goal could be just to survive.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. And what like I was her training partner her first class, and I was pretty surprised. One, Lauderdale moves great. She has a natural body awareness that a lot of people don't, but she also played a little bit of sports growing up. And then two, she's obviously she's extremely strong, right? So I'm like, man, yeah, you could do great in jiu-jitsu if you stuck with it. But I think what has her kind of timid about it right now is the big picture, right? There's so much to learn, and it can be very overwhelming for someone that comes into a school, especially when you're in the middle of a class that is not a basic class. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
like the other night, our no-gi class was not a basic class, right? There were some basic elements to it, but it definitely, you know, there was a little bit more advanced. So, if we had like a beginners class or even like the all women's class, I think is a great thing because they don't go over a whole lot of like omoplatas or crazy things that they can't use in the streets. So I think today she was talking about going to the women's class. Like, you should do it. Saturdays, you should go to the women's class.
I go to as many as you can.
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
Can make.
Yeah, go to as many classes. Like Riley, she goes to, I think, every class.
Kids
I'm
class,
pretty sure
class,
she's in the
every
Minions class, beating those kids up.
Yeah.
Right.
You might be right.
But
Yeah, I went to that women's class for the first time this morning.
oh,
And,
really?
Yeah, it was great. Alvin does a really good job of going over not only what the different positions are. That's what he did today. He explained like what a side control is, what north south
nice.
is, what mount is, things like that. And then he didn't just explain what they were, but why it's effective.
See,
and so
that's
what
nice.
you need to control and how to really make that move effective. And so I even learned a lot from it. It was a really good refresher for me, and
Yeah.
he does a really good job explaining the physics and like the science behind those different jiu-jitsu, positions.
Yeah, we were talking about like if because we travel for work,
Mm-hmm.
and if we were to go to like San Diego, we go to San Diego next year, and I'm like, I'm just gonna him too. He's brought it up. He's like, I'm just gonna do their like beginners class and just it's like a 6-week long class and it's all pure fundamentals and just get a refresher and like because they don't go over anything advanced. It's just
Right.
all the basic things like elbow escape and trap and roll and stuff like that. But it's all I feel like it's always good to revisit it. Even the longer you do it, you should always revisit the very very basic stuff. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was neat. They had 2 6-week classes down there. One was
Oh, really?
an intro in MMA. So you get like the intro in MMA,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of cool because you get done with the 6 weeks, and they kind of like certify you.
Huh.
And who was the guy you were? What's his name? Lister is one of the
Dean
coaches?
Lister?
Yeah.
Dean
Is
Lister.
that Jocko's gym down there?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
And then they do the 6-week jiu-jitsu one where they just go through all the basics again, fundamentals and all that, and then like do like a certification at the end. I was like,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm gonna be down there for 4 months, so I need something to do. So.
Right. And there are so many good gyms
Yeah.
down there in San
Atos
Diego.
is down there also.
So.
So that was the one I was talking about going to was Atos.
Yeah.
I think if I'm not saying that wrong, but Atos down
Yeah.
there, and they're a pure like competition gym. But I was like,
Mhm.
"Ew, how cool would it be just to go down there and be with literal world champions and world class?
That'd be crazy.
You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
amount of knowledge that is in a single class. And that was one thing that I really enjoyed about hybrid is not saying that we don't have a knowledge, but the more people that you have, like the more black belts, brown belts, the more you have around, the more knowledge there is,
Yeah.
right? Because
Right.
it's a
Bigger
different
pool.
person. Yeah, exactly. So I was like, man, that'd be great to go down there and check that out and just see the amount of knowledge that they have, obviously, in just a single class,
For
so
sure.
hold on a second.
Well, we went to that or I went to like a Gracie seminar last year,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh, the one with Henner, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I've heard you talking about that one.
Yeah, and I was like, man, what I learned then is, man, some of these guys are so good. I couldn't even really comprehend it when they were teaching the class.
Right.
Like, I tried, I was like, it was cool to go there and, like, learn some stuff, but I was like, oh, I don't know. So he talks about the other gym, and I was like, I'll wait a little bit before I spend a lot of money for more seminars.
Right. Oh, man. Those are valuable, though, because I went to one of Henner's
Yeah.
seminars out here, too, as a white belt. And I remember he was breaking down some of the most basic moves. I think that time he was showing us the guillotine and just the little tiny steps that really impact the effectiveness of a guillotine. And I
Yeah.
thought, those seminars, depending on what they teach and what level you're at, can be really helpful because, those guys are literally the pros.
And they had, like,
Right.
great personality, good teaching. I
Yeah.
was like, man, they were great together.
Yeah.
Yep.
That having that chemistry of where they can kind of feed off each other and you don't feel like one's trying to out teach the other
No, not at
is a
all.
very important thing. Because as a coach in CrossFit, like if I'm the leader of the class, I don't really it's not like disrespectful for another coach to walk in, but you're always kind of hesitant because everyone has their own way of coaching something, right? And you just don't want to step on each other's toes because then the athlete or the student is the one that gets all confused and they're like, wait, so you told me to put my hand here, and then he just told me to put my hand over here, and now what am I supposed to do? You know what I mean?
Right.
So just making it super easy for everyone, though. But that you said, like, going to a seminar that early in jiu-jitsu wasn't that beneficial because you don't know what you don't know, right? Like,
Yeah,
there's just
it was
so
cool.
much.
I mean, we'd been doing it for a while. It was just, it was good. I don't think I really grasped it too well. But
Right.
That's not to say everyone else didn't. Just me, but it was good.
Yeah.
Have you been to many seminars?
I used to go to a lot at the last gym that I went to. My professor, she would send people over from Brazil and
Wow.
from Phoenix and from all over to basically help teach at our school from time to time, especially when they have the big like worlds
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
When people come to compete for those, she knows so many of those black belts that come out and compete. She'd be like, hey, you're going to be out here anyways. Do you mind teaching? Or I figure that's how the
so
conversation
cool.
went. And so I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Megaton. You guys have probably heard of his daughter, Mackenzie Dern.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah. She's
Megaton-
UFC now.
Right.
Well, was.
Yeah, kind of. She just had a baby.
Yeah,
Congratulations, Mackenzie.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, Mackenzie Dern.
But yeah, her dad came and taught a seminar.
That's crazy.
And that one was one that was really memorable for me. Her black belt down in Brazil has come and taught a couple seminars. And then there was one seminar that I missed, but I don't know why they don't do it anymore. But it was a couple years ago at the Tacoma Dome. And they got like all the black belts from the area to come together and teach a huge seminar.
That's so cool.
I know. I think I had to work that day, so I missed it. But I heard it was really good, and they should do it again. By the way, black belts here, if you're listening, you guys should do it again.
Definitely. I haven't gone to a jiu-jitsu seminar yet, but I really want to go to one. Especially now that we've been doing it for going on, about 2 years. And it'll
be 2 years in May.
Yeah, so coming up on 2 years, so a little over a year and a half. I feel like I have a very not firm understanding, but a good understanding enough to where I can learn a little bit more of maybe something advanced or go to a seminar and retain it, as to where if I was 2 months into it and I went to a seminar because I thought it was cool, I'd be like, I have no idea what they're talking about.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they're using all these fancy Japanese words and positions, and I don't know what that means, so. But. Oh, I gotta burp. So, oh man, what was I gonna ask? Now I'm drawing a brain fart.
First you burp, then you fart.
Yeah.
Just all sorts of gassy over there.
Right. So, what is it like? Because obviously you were at a gym that you said had a lot of females in it, so you had a lot of experience rolling with females. What is it like rolling with males as a female? What is your perspective on it, and how do you, what's your mindset when you're in it?
I mean, at first it was kind of weird to me because, I was a young kid. I think I was like 18 or 19 when I was starting jiu-jitsu, and in really close quarters with all these really older men,
right.
That can sometimes be sexualized, I think. A lot of my friends wouldn't want to do jiu-jitsu because they're like, man, that's gross. It looks like, you guys are doing inappropriate things with these weird outfits on.
Right.
But I'm like, no, it's great self-defense. It's great exercise. It's lots of fun. So for me, it wasn't weird at all. But I think for outsiders, it can seem kind of weird.
Right.
But I really did like rolling with the girls too, because then I had girls to bond with and, to experience all that with. But all the guys that I had ever rolled with, and I think just in jiu-jitsu in general, good people are attracted to jiu-jitsu or something. Right. Because I've never had any weird experiences or guys that, really try to hurt me or anything. Sometimes when they're brand new guys, I'll try to stay away from some of the brand new jiu-jitsu guys, just because a lot of guys join jiu-jitsu because they watch UFC and they want to be the tough guy,
Right,
and so sometimes, I'll try to read them before I roll with them, because they'll, overexert their strength. And I've gotten hurt one time from a guy that was just way too gung-ho and didn't want me to get him in a triangle.
Really?
So, yeah, it was pretty bad. What he did was he ended up hyperextending my arm from my own triangle.
Wow.
And so I had him in a triangle, and he grabbed my arm, and I guess it was some kind of arm bar or something he was trying to get out. And I tapped, and he kept going, and I was out for a couple of months. And I was just like, dude, what the heck? I tapped, and you were in my triangle.
Right.
It's okay to tap to me sometimes.
Yeah,
I promise everyone gets caught. It's okay.
I'm not trying to hurt your ego or you or anything. I just like jiu-jitsu, you know?
Right. Do you ever feel like men go too easy or too hard sometimes, or
sometimes?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like guys will, look at a female, especially someone who might be a little bit smaller, and they'll be like,
Right.
oh man, I don't want to hurt your hair, you know, or I don't want to hurt you.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, I joined jiu-jitsu. I didn't join ballet.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about it, you know?
You know, well, sometimes I'll be honest, if I'm rolling, sometimes I don't know how much to exert.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And I've
Same.
been yelled at before. But
Yes.
I was like,
Is this
but
the
I've rolled with
grapefruit?
you before. It was
Nope.
fine. But sometimes, like, you know, even I don't know, like, well, you know, how much is enough,
Right.
you know, like, but honestly, after rolling so many months with Riley, I'm fine with it now. Like, I know
Right.
exactly know how much to give. And
Right.
sometimes I'll go too light on Riley. People are like, oh, that's like, next thing I know, I got an elbow in my jaw, cranking my neck.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Right.
hold on now. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
No, and that's the thing that I always worry about is I don't want to not I mean, because as a guy, it you know, you have to recognize like
Mhm.
when you are going a little bit too rough,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's with a guy or a girl, right? But it's then I'm in my head, I'm like, well, it's a female. I was like, no, I definitely can't go as hard, right? Just out of respect for them because I don't want to hurt them either, or I
Right.
don't want them to think that I'm going super hard because whatever. And then I'm like, well, in my head, am I going too soft now?
Yeah,
Are they
I-
thinking I'm
sometimes
going
I
too
wonder
easy? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to disrespect them by going too hard, and I don't want to go disrespect them by them thinking that I'm going easy on them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because that's a real thing. It's like I don't want. I just want the mutual respect. Like I know that they're not gonna go ham on me, and I'm not gonna go ham on them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
And then on the flip side too, there are the girls that are like, man, I'm this girl power. I'm
Yeah.
in jiu-jitsu. I am strong. And I've even met girls that are way more aggressive than men on the mats.
yeah, they have that
in the
mindset.
sense where they're like, I want to be number one. And,
Yeah.
I haven't gotten hurt in that situation before, but it is like sometimes girls will overexert themselves too. And
Yeah.
it's just like, well, you just got to try and match the intensity of your rolling
Yeah,
partner.
that's a good way to put it. Is matching intensity with intensity. I've heard that quite a few times.
I like communication too. So
Right.
if we're ever rolling and you want to go harder, I just tell me to go harder.
Yeah,
Remember, I had that
agreed.
conversation before.
Yeah.
With, I don't know. Remember who was out here? Was it? I think it was Chris.
Yeah.
He was talking about rolling with white belts, and I was like, you know, I don't roll as hard to someone that's visiting the gym that's a higher belt because I don't want to come off as, you know, someone
That
that's
guy.
Yeah.
But you know, and he's like, yeah, and I was like, hey, well, if you tell me, hey, roll hard, you know, go
Right.
go stronger.
Yeah.
Then by all means, I will. I like that
Yeah.
communication.
Yeah, that's like a everyday thing for me. Is like I don't ever try to go like 100% in any role,
Right.
right? But if it's someone I know like John, I can go a little bit harder with John. If it's like Derek Dodd, I can go a little bit harder with Derek. There's certain people I know that I can like Pete. I can go a little bit harder with Pete.
Like Phil, I need to use all my energy to survive.
Yeah, right. Like there's some people that I know that we have that mutual respect, and well, it's also because I've been rolling with them for so long, you know, since day one. So I'm like, oh, we have that camaraderie. He knows I'm not trying to hurt him, even if he does sustain a small injury or something like that. He knows it's not on purpose.
Right.
It's just part of jiu-jitsu. You know what I
Right.
mean? So having that friendship and knowing that it's okay to train kind of harder a little bit. So
Right. And sometimes too, like when I was training for competitions, I would ask people like, hey, like don't take it easy on me today
Really?
because I've got a competition coming up and I want to kind of mock what those guys on the mats are going to try to accomplish. So go ahead, take a little bit harder on me today, just so that I can prepare for the intensity of the competition. So it all just kind of depends on, you know, what you're prepping for
Right.
and things like that.
What does your week of competition look like? Do you have like still have an understanding? Because when was the last time you competed? Also,
It's been years.
Yeah.
So probably about 3 years since I've last competed. Week of competition. Towards my last few competitions, I was really focusing on diet and cutting weight. And so I would take it easy from, you know, really going hard in jiu-jitsu the week of. And I would really focus more on, I like swimming too.
Oh,
so
okay.
hitting the pool, keeping that cardio going, hitting the hot tub, keep my muscles loose,
Yeah.
the sauna, and just going back and forth from the cold pool water to like the sauna or the hot tub, while also keeping that diet. And then I also
compete next month real quick.
No.
Just checking. Keep going.
No, and then I also like to work on drills a lot.
yeah,
Like I'll work one move 100 times. That's just how I learn and how I enjoy to learn things. And so, week of competition, you'll see me drilling a lot too.
really.
Mm-hmm.
Like what kind of drilling are you? Like say armbar escaping or triangle stacking. Like what kind of drills do you talk about when you say drilling stuff?
For sure. So, at my old school, my professor was really about like kind of working a plan. And so you'd have a plan. So I'd go, say, from closed guard to like an arm bar, and then we would have the situation where the arm bar doesn't work. So you're going to transition to an omoplata. So my drills the week of typically were going from one spot to the next, transitions to the next, to the next, and just really locking down the different transitions that I could move, because in a competition, there is no forecasting what exactly is going to happen. Yeah. And so you've got to prepare your body to move for whatever might happen.
Yeah, exactly.
The guy that you're competing against doesn't always have the same jiu-jitsu background. There are lots of different styles of jiu-jitsu. So you never know what they're going to try to do to defend, what they're going to try to do to attack. And so just getting my body to move through all the different positions and all the different possibilities from one spot was typically what I enjoyed doing the most.
That's good. We've been trying to think of like what kind of strategy we're going to have going into next month. And I don't know if mine's good or not. But what I'm going to try to do is just hunt for the submission the entire time. And if I lose on points, I'll lose on points. But I don't want to think about the points. I just want to try to hunt the submission.
Hey, that's fair. I was never a big submission person.
Really?
So if I ever won a I had never won by submission. I had only won by points in all of my competitions.
I just think if I'm worrying about points and I'm thinking about them while I'm rolling, it's going to hurt my game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So. That's like John Dana here, just from Henzo Gracie School in New York. I mean, if you know jiu-jitsu, usually you've heard the name of John Dana here. But he just posted something on Instagram the other day that I shared on our Facebook page, talking about how at ADCC, the Olympics of grappling, his team had 13 submissions or something like that out of 15 matches. So only 2 matches were won by points. And he goes into like this whole like description of how jiu-jitsu is a submission art, right? The ultimate goal of jiu-jitsu is the submission, right? You should always be hunting for the submission. He's like, and in competition, he feels that a lot of people are kind of steering away from the submission aspect and really worrying about points and point aspect of, you know, the sport. But he's like everything you do in jiu-jitsu should be to advance the position to get the submission. You know what I mean? And I thought that was kind of cool to see like a high-level guy talk about it and then see his results, you know, because his team had more submissions than second, third, and fourth place combined.
Yeah, that's crazy. 13 out of 15 is it's a pretty good ratio.
Right. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I probably have the same game plan. Like I'll probably just try not to leave it up to faith and just go for the submission. If I get tapped, I get tapped. If I lose on points, I lose on points. But at least I know I was going for the finish.
And if I win on points, I'm happy with that.
Yeah,
too.
Right. You know, and it goes into like what Professor always says, like hold the position, you know, secure the position. And I'll definitely think about that, but I'm not thinking about securing the position for the points. I'm thinking about securing the position so I can get my submission. You know what I mean? So
you're not going to be the kind of person that'll go for mount, wait it for 3 seconds,
Correct.
go to knee on belly, wait for 3 to 5, and then go back to mount. Like that doesn't make sense.
If I'm in side control, it's because I'm securing an arm to go for like, you know, like a Kimura or an arm bar or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that's the reason I look at positions.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So did your coach train like really beat in your heads guys points or?
No, she didn't really teach us points, but she did teach us, you know, you want to get that position before the submission, and you want to make sure that if you go for a submission, you do it right. Right. Because, you know, in a matter of, you guys know, in a matter of no time, you could be going for one thing, and then next thing you know, you're tapping, right? So
you're like, I got this guy in a Kimura. I was like, and I'm tapping to a Kimura. I don't even know how this happened.
Yeah, exactly.
How did I get here?
And so she didn't really say like, oh man, I mean, she let us know like, yeah, this is 3 points, this is 2 points, this is 1 or whatever. But she wasn't like, okay, get as many points as you can and don't even worry about the submission.
Right.
That she was pretty well rounded, I would say.
Yeah, we were looking at the rankings on the Revolution and for like white belts, blue belts, everything. And we're looking at the ratio to matches to submissions or matches to points and something like that. And John pointed out that there was a lot of point wins. Mostly of them were point wins.
Even when I was there were very few submissions. Like I was there all day Saturday and I watched. And there was a couple, but there wasn't a whole lot.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah. So when I put that submission on, they're like, no, get the points first.
But there were some, and we looked. So now you can go on Revolution's website, and it lists like everyone that won, and it shows submissions or points, and you can get a really good look at it. It was interesting.
Cool.
There are some people that have only won by submission.
Yeah, there was like 4 matches, 4 submissions.
Yep. And they have mat time of like 4 minutes.
Yep.
Are you guys looking your competitors up on
yeah,
Facebook?
yeah.
Are you Facebook stalking
I mean,
them?
I don't have Facebook.
I like to
besides
prepare.
Yeah.
So.
But I definitely been trying to Instagram stalk some people. Like, what is this person a blue belt yet? Because I don't want to go against them.
Right. I remember my first match at the Revolution. I went and I Facebook stalked my competition.
Oh, we're not
and
alone.
I go, oh, her boyfriend's a brown belt. She must be so good. Totally psyched myself
Oh,
out.
no. Would you recommend other women to compete in jiu-jitsu?
Absolutely.
That are kind of hesitant about it?
Absolutely, because I think the most frustrating thing is there aren't ever enough women in the right weight class.
Right.
So if you want to compete in jiu-jitsu as a female, you either have to gain a bunch of weight or lose a bunch of weight to be in the competitive weight class, because there aren't women of all different body types competing.
Yeah.
I think the competition weight that I was at was 141 in gi to like 145 in gi or something like that. But my body doesn't naturally go there, so I had to cut. My diet consisted of, like, in the mornings I'd do protein powder with espresso shots and chia seeds, and that'd be my breakfast.
Wow.
You know, to cut weight for that competition. And then on the flip side, there was also a girl who was like 110 or 115 or something like that, and she would never have competitions either because she was too light.
Too small.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of goes into the age too, right? Like Billy had to drop down. John's shaking his head saying, I'm old. He's like, but Billy had to drop down in an age bracket and a weight bracket too, right? Because there was no one to compete with him.
If I would have competed, I would have been the only one in his age bracket.
Really?
But I don't know if I'd have been as light as him.
Right. I know I was looking at the people that signed up before this last Revolution, and I was like, well, in no-gi, there's no one in my weight class, so I was like, I don't really want to compete if there's going to be no one in my weight class, because I kind of just wanted to do no-gi, because I feel, I don't know, I have a lot of fun with no-gi right now, but I'm also kind of going back to, man, gi's a whole lot of fun, though, you know,
I love rolling in gi.
Dude, it's great. I love it, because chess versus checkers, like I always talk about, right, so it's fun to get buck wild and some no-gi, you know, and just, like, flail all over the place, and you know, much faster pace. But I enjoy knowing that in a gi, when you get a submission in a gi, it's like that stuff was like planned out a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
I think it's harder to get it in no-gi.
You think so?
Yeah, because I don't have anything to grab. I'm used to using that stuff.
Yep.
And all of a sudden I'm no-gi, and I'm like, how am I going to do this with my arms?
What do I grab?
Yeah, I'm like, but I know my kids absolutely love no-gi Thursdays.
Really?
So, Professor, if you're listening, don't get rid of no-gi Thursday for the kids. Yeah, they look forward to it all week. They want to know what day it is. Or are they going to gi or no gi?
Yeah.
So,
even
they
John,
really
or
enjoy it.
even Charles mentions it. He's like, is today gi or no gi? I was like, today's gi. He's like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, today's no gi. He's like, okay. There's absolutely zero difference for his jiu-jitsu journey. You know what I mean? Like, so, but either way, he's wearing his gi pants. That's what he's like. Can I wear my gi pants? Like, hey, you can wear your gi pants. I don't mind. Just wear old.
Yeah, you don't want to tear them knees up.
Yeah, I got burns all over my knees and everything from that mat. So.
Yep. My favorite part about rolling in gi is just the idea that you can choke your opponent with their own clothes. Like, dude, I can choke you with your jacket.
You see your lapel, it's going around your throat.
Right.
I know. I try to do a lot of lapel and collar things.
Mm-hmm.
Not really submissions, but to hold them better, right? So I'll like grab like lapel, wrap it around their shoulder, and then I have like a good hook where I can connect my elbow to my body and create that frame.
Right.
And I know that now they can't sit up, you know what I mean? Or
Right.
now they can't roll that way or bridge that way or something, because I'm basically securing that whole side of the
Right.
body. So, but in no-gi, I'm like, I try to go like bread cutter, like, you know, like form across the throat sometimes, and I just like put my hand on the shoulder and they just kind of like push it off. I'm like, okay, that's not gonna work.
Austin was really good with the lapels.
Austin.
Blue belt, Professor son.
Oh, yeah, he
Yeah,
was. Yeah, he
yeah.
did a lot of lapel
He
guard,
would tie me
squid
up all
guard.
the time rolling.
Mhm.
And I was like, what is he doing? And then my hands were all isolated.
I was like, listen, young Keenan Cornelius, like, you need to calm down, all right? So,
Right.
But So what do you do in your free time besides jujitsu?
I just really hang out with my dogs. I like mountain biking. Recently, my husband and I have taken that up. And so we just like to hit the trails, take our dog, and just ride around on our bicycles like we're 12. That's a lot of fun to us. We also like motorcycles.
Yeah.
So sometimes, we'll just take our motorcycles, go get dinner, and
that's awesome.
Practice wheelies and stuff. But other than that, I don't really do too much. I just really work. We like to cook, stay at home.
Yeah.
Hang out,
Love staying at home. That's one of my favorite things too.
Right. Do you ever try to convince your husband to get into some jiu-jitsu?
So he's actually trained before.
Oh, really?
So before I met him, he was doing more like MMA no-gi style training before he joined the Navy. And then he joined the Navy. And then after we got married, I was like, dude, you have to
get back into it.
You have to train jiu-jitsu if we're going to be married. And so he and I trained down at 253 in Tacoma with Jelson and Professor Mike Proctor for a little while. I bought him his first gi. And so he trained for a while, but just with his work schedule and everything going on, he just hasn't been able to make it back in a gym.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to convince him to come out here, but he's like, Ashley, I'm going to let it be your thing. Wait till you get consistent again, fall in love with it again, and then, I'll come and join you.
Oh,
smart.
That's nice. Right. Yeah. Because he doesn't want to fall in love with it and always be going like, where's my wife at?
Right.
That was a big thing for me is since Charles does it, Charles does it.
Charles is doing it.
Charles is doing it. I'm sorry. And then I'm doing it. And then Lordell started doing it. I was like, if it could be a family affair, it's something we can go through together and kind of like grow as a family together.
Right.
Because there's always going to be trials and tribulations and hard times that you only really go through in like a physical aspect like that,
Right.
So, and Charles mentioned that he wanted to compete next month too. So I think I might. I know, right? I was like, I did not expect that, and I don't know if it was a fluke, but I'm gonna sign him up for it. And they'd be like, "Hey, you got to compete today." He's like, "What?"
We can carpool since
we
it's
could
on a Sunday, and I have to bring Drew. So
we could, and I'm gonna sign Lordell up, but she don't know that yet. So.
Good luck.
I remember one of my last competitions as a white belt. I competed, and my dad also competed at the same competition.
Oh, really?
It was so fun rooting each other on. It'd be like, "Oh, Daddy, you going up next, or am I?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I got a little while till I go." It was just a lot of fun.
I'll be here for you. And
then the prep up to the competition too, it'd be like, "Oh, hey, Dad, you close to making weight?" Or Ashley, how's your cut going? Like, is it okay? What's your game plan? And so it is a good family bonding thing for sure.
Do you guys ever practice together?
Oh yeah. Every once in a while, I'll go down to Tacoma and I'll roll with my dad down there. And
you're gonna get him down. Get him to come down.
I should on a Saturday or something.
Dad, come down.
On Saturdays. And so he's talked about it before, but he also took a little bit of a break out of jiu-jitsu, and so he's getting back into it himself down there in Tacoma too.
That's good.
So.
Where is he going to go to 253 in Tacoma too?
Yeah, he started there as a white belt, and he's a purple belt now.
Wow, nice.
That's the only place he's ever trained, and so that's his home.
That's cool.
That's his home. 253's been awesome to my dad and our family. My little sister trained there for a little while too, and then on summers I would go train there. Yeah. So they're part of the family.
We hear a lot of good things about it.
Yeah, Jelson says nothing but good things about it, and so he's trying to convince us to come drop in there too.
It's just so far.
Yeah, I know.
Let's all go.
Let's do it. But it would have to be like a Friday night or
a Saturday.
But they don't have Saturday classes, do they?
I think they do. I think they're open mats at like 11 on Saturdays.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
We might have to.
Quit trying to keep me out late on a Friday.
Look, bro. I'm trying to get it so we have content. All right, a class to talk about.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I have a question about cutting for competition.
For sure.
Since you said you and your dad both do it, did you find yourselves tired in competing, or was it like, did you feel off your game doing it that way? Because I don't want to cut at all. I just want to go like wherever I'm at. Because I watched the guys last time. And they'll even tell you they were like thoroughly gassed.
I think that's for my first couple competitions, I did the same thing. I just wanted to focus on my game and how well I did. But like I was saying, it's much more competitive to cut weight for a woman. So I wouldn't recommend cutting weight to a lower weight class unless you had a reason for it. But as far as how tired I was, I think the adrenaline kept me going. And I was just so excited to compete that I was just fighting through all the tiredness and the crappy feelings. And once you weigh in, my favorite thing was like I had little, baby food pouches.
Yeah.
And I'd eat those, drink Gatorade, and then, I'd be on my way to the mats. And so, yeah, I would not recommend cutting weight though, unless you really
No,
have
I don't
a
want
reason
to.
to.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
At first, I thought about it
Yeah.
because they're like, well, if you're strong at 172 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
because I think it's pretty vast for the guys, right? It's like 168 to almost 180.
181.
Yeah, that's
181
Oh, wow.
that's a big
Yeah.
difference, right?
Yeah,
So it's like, do you want to go up against a guy that's 181, or do you want to shed 2 pounds, and then
that's
the most
true.
you're going up is somebody that's already at your weight?
Because I'm at the point now where I'm like 184. I walk around usually about 184. And in my weightlifting days, I could shed 3-4 kilos overnight pretty
Oh,
much.
wow.
So I could, with just distilled water, hydrocut. And so I was
Right.
like, well, I could drop down to below 181, in a couple of days.
Right.
And then John and Cody, they're like, it's not worth it, man. There's no reason
Yeah.
to. I'm like, yeah, but
Just my research reading, it's like, don't do it if you don't like. I
Yeah.
could, and I'd be in that lower where I don't have to worry about. But then I was like, whatever, we're learning jiu-jitsu. I should be able to roll with somebody that's 181 pounds.
yeah,
Right.
That's the whole that's the whole idea behind jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
right? Is like Helio Gracie, the smaller guy, is supposed to be able to maintain or hold himself against a bigger opponent. You
Right.
know?
And then they're not that much bigger if
No.
you guys are in the same weight.
And
class.
everyone in
unless
our-
they cut down,
and
quite a bit.
everyone-
Right.
Everyone in our class, at least all the guys, they're well into their, high 170s, 180s
Yeah.
or more. So
Yeah,
shouldn't be
I
any
feel
difference.
like I'm the only one in my weight class, or at my weight in the gym. Either you're over 200 pounds or you're 170 and below. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I'm 184 pounds, like I said, walking around normally. So I'm like, well, they're like, all right, everyone get in the weight class. I'm like, I'm the only one here like this.
Yeah. I'm like, Chris, Jordan, Billy, where you guys at? You're in my range.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, who's the same height as me?
Right. Yeah, no, I should definitely bring my dad in because that'll be something you guys hadn't ever experienced before. He wears like a size A5 gi.
Wow.
He's over 300 pounds.
Wow.
But he's also very technical, super skilled, very smart. And so he'll never like crush you. He's very considerate that way. But
Yeah, thank
he's
God.
a big guy, and it's very different rolling with a big guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, what was Rob, you think? What'd Rob weigh?
Rob said he was he was
wasn't
like maybe
300.
he was like 235, but he was
Okay.
also
That
235.
felt heavy. I was like,
Yeah.
6'2", 6'3",
Yeah.
massive man. So he's like probably, he was probably taller than Cody. He was definitely taller than Cody and weighed
Huh.
probably
Yeah.
235, 240. And he got me an arm bar one time, and I thought he almost snapped my arm in half. It
Oh,
was like,
man.
well, because it was I didn't know it was his first class, and I would have rolled differently if I knew
Right.
it was his first class. Because I kind of gave him the arm bar because I was thinking I was going to be able to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just a big, strong man, and he held my
committed.
arm. Yeah, and he committed, and he didn't understand the leverage that his body had, and
Right.
it was quick.
Right.
And I was like, tap, 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 and it was right there. I was like, oh my god.
I used to tell same big man, I'd be like, roll with me hard, man, because when I get back, I want to give Cody a run for his money.
Yeah.
Got back, did not give Cody a run
No,
for his money.
no,
It
no.
didn't help at all.
In Japan though, I would be like, hey, so say hypothetically, and I do it in class now too every once in a while. I'm like, say hypothetically, you have someone that's like 6'2", 220 pounds, all strong, all arm and legs, plays a lot of butterfly guard. How would I get past that?
Hypothetically.
Just hypothetically, right? And so Cody doesn't play as much butterfly guard now, but there was before we went to Japan, he played it all the time, and I was like, how the heck do I get past his legs?
Right.
And then I learned some ways, got past his legs, I think like once or twice, and then he instantly switched it up. And I was like, well, all right, that was the end of that. Now I need to go back to Japan and learn how to do this again.
Oh man.
So do you have in your old school, was there like someone that you trained with that was like, for John and I feel like we're pretty much very well evenly matched. Did you have that one person that you knew was like your training partner? You guys were like neck and neck the whole time and you always battled back and forth?
Yeah, and I think that's what kind of made it fun. I don't know what it was, but when I joined jiu-jitsu, it was me, my professor, and there were a few other girls that were maybe blue belts or higher, maybe another white belt girl. But after I joined, a bunch of women started joining.
That's
like
cool.
Husbands, wives, things like that. And so we all started at about the same time. So almost all the girls in the gym, we were all kind of competing for like each other's arm bars or triangles or whatever it might be. And so, yeah, we were always neck and neck. We were all different weight classes, thankfully. So in competitions, we never went against each other. But as far as skill level, we were all getting our black belts or blue belts.
I was like, hey!
Nobody got their black belt
something.
yet.
You've been hiding something.
Right. And they're all like in their purple belts now. And I'm like, oh, man, like I shouldn't have taken that time off because I'm still a blue belt. But I'm really happy for them. And, yeah, we were all friends and we'd all roll with each other. And it was a lot of fun. Yeah,
I think a big thing too for women in jiu-jitsu is because it is not a heavily women-dominated sport. It's very intimidating for a woman to come to a class and see nothing but guys.
Yeah, agree.
And it's like, well, tell you the truth, you'll probably benefit more than anyone here in jiu-jitsu and self-defense, right? Like even if you are a smaller or larger woman, like I don't know. I always try to encourage every woman that I know that's shown a little bit of interest in it. I'm like, do it. You will not regret it. You always should learn, like, whether you're a guy or girl, should always learn some sort of a little bit of self-defense because that little bit makes a huge difference, and you don't realize it until you've been doing jiu-jitsu 3-4 months and that brand new white belt comes in. You're like, wow, all right, I kind of know. I know what to do with this. You know what I mean? Like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. So.
Right. No, I absolutely agree. I think regardless of who you are or what stage of life you're in, you should do jiu-jitsu. I know way later down the line when me and my husband have kids, our kids are going into jiu-jitsu as soon as they hit like 4.
Really? That's smart. That's smart. Got that minions class.
Right. They're going to be little Rileys.
Oh, yeah, man. Riley's a beast. Well, I remember that first class we had when Alan came down.
Uh-huh.
I think it was the first seminar, first time I was, I never knew anything about jiu-jitsu until I showed up in class.
Mm-hmm.
Like, never even watched it, never heard about it. The only reason I did it is Cody was like, hey, we're thinking about starting up a jiu-jitsu gym. Is anybody interested? And since some of my friends were doing it, I was like, all right, I'll try it out. But anyway, the first lesson was him talking about women getting choked to death. That was his first lesson. And he was like, yeah, it's really a shame that
this many women die.
This many people die from being choked to death, and all you have to do is grab the wrist, grab the elbow, and bridge.
Right.
So that was the first lesson. Someone's choking you to death. This is how you get out of it. And I was thinking, man, that stuck with me. So like I thought about my girls, my wife. I was like, it's something so simple.
Mm-hmm.
All these people die from this one thing, and this is all you have to do.
Right.
To get out of it.
Right. I mean, even before I started jiu-jitsu, my dad really integrated a lot of it into my life. He would randomly come up behind me and, like, do a rear naked choke. I didn't know it was a rear naked choke at the time. But he's like, Ashley, if someone does this to you, what do you do? And I go, I don't know. And then eventually I learned, you got to tuck your chin, you got to make sure that they don't get up under there. And it became, even before I started jiu-jitsu, a reflex to tuck my chin. If someone comes up behind me and chokes me.
That's cool.
I know Cody every once in a while will come up behind you and start messing with you, and he'll like go for like rear naked. I'm like going to block it right away. Like it's just natural instinct now.
Right.
Or when I get up off the ground, I'm always like have my hand up to like protect myself. Like, man, I look like an idiot to anyone that doesn't know what I'm doing.
Right. Like when you're like, say, putting something on a bottom shelf, you're sitting on the ground, tactical stand up,
Yeah. Right. Like. I
going
remember
to sleep, grabbing that pillow, getting tired. I'm like, no, what am I doing?
I no longer roll over on my sides normally. I always switch my hips and then like.
Right. I was just talking about that to my friend last week. How even though I haven't trained jiu-jitsu for quite some time, like I still find myself like switching my hips to get comfortable in bed or shrimping or whatever it might be, just in regular day-to-day stuff.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. What are you doing over there, man?
I got a gram real quick. Continue on. Don't worry about me. Our social media marketer, El Presidente, ain't doing this.
Oh.
So.
Well, I'm pretty excited that I don't know if you got that email from Cody, but they're looking at testing the kids later this month.
Oh no, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, so they're gonna start testing the kids. I think it's the week of the 21st, and it's been challenging for me to keep my girls interested in it.
Really?
They've been going now for, it's got to be over a year.
How old are they?
12 and 6.
Okay.
Or 7. And I think the last time they did stripes was probably 4 or 5 months ago, and then before that, it was a couple months before that. So it's been really, like, they need that stuff. Like, it's really hard to keep them motivated.
Right.
And I just gave them the option. Like, I didn't want to keep forcing them to go.
Right.
And I gave them the option. I was like, well, if you guys don't want to go anymore, you got to go tell professor that you're done and all that. And so it's been nice because that's how they can get out of it. I no longer tell them to go if they don't want to go, but they have to go tell professor in George that they're quitting.
Oh, that would be hard.
So I think it was about 2 weeks ago it came to a head, and I was like, hey, that's it. You guys don't want to go tell them right now. They're right there, right here. Now they both continue to go.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're not getting out of it, but I want them to keep going because they're obviously the girls for one, and I want them to stay in it. And it'd be cool if like we can get more into it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's hard to keep them motivated, but
Right.
I don't know. I'm still looking for how to keep them motivated in it.
Yeah.
And they say it all the time. They're like, well, there's not too many girls in the class. Like for
Yeah.
Olivia, it's Riley. Like Riley is.
And then Riley kicks that butt all day down.
Yeah, yeah. So it's tough. I don't know how to really keep them motivated. Then I'm gonna have to do some more research. If anybody has any ideas, feel free to hit us up and let me know.
Yeah, I think also one way to motivate, like how you have two young girls, is seeing more women in it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like older
Right.
women in our class also, and then seeing them progress through their jiu-jitsu, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, it's cool to it's no matter if you agree with or say it out loud or not, but subconsciously you always look up to
Mhm.
someone, right? And like as a guy, I still look up to Professor, even though like I'm a grown man or whatever. Right? But
Right.
he is a black belt. He has something that I am striving for. Like I may not say it out loud, but I still look up to him. I still look to respect for him and approval.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? Like, and even as a young girl or a young boy, you're gonna find someone, whether it's your professor, whether it's someone else in your class that's better than you, or whether it's someone in the adult class. You're gonna find that someone and be like, I want to be like them. You know what I mean? Like, I want to get to where they are or whatnot. And if you don't have that to look up to, it's kind of hard to keep them
I
motivated.
know I need to find a female instructor. Like I need them to see that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? I just don't
Ashley?
know where.
Ashley?
Lois is pretty good too.
Yeah.
Lois is pretty good. Yeah.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen anyone at the kids class for them, so
Huh.
they don't see anyone other than Professor and George.
yeah, and Nate
Yeah,
every
that
once
makes
in a while.
sense. I think
Yeah.
that would have helped me as a little girl, you
Yeah.
know, if I had
Yeah.
someone to look up to.
So they haven't seen it other than Riley beating up Olivia in class. Good job,
Yeah.
Riley. She's a beast. But that's about it.
Even Lordell, I'm like, well, you have because Ashley hadn't came in a while, and so I was like, well, you have Riley to roll with, and she's a quarter of your size, and
Right.
she'll put a butt whooping on you, so don't worry about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
You'll get the effort.
yeah,
either
you will
way.
get the effort, So, and we've heard from a couple females that have done it. Is we kind of talked about earlier is like guys going a little bit easier. Like I really wish kind of like guys would go a little bit harder because in the streets or in a real life situation, they're not going to go super
They're
easy,
not gonna
or
worry about
you know what I
you.
mean.
Yeah.
And I think it's good too for the kids class because like Charles when he puts it on. Charles puts it on, and I'm like, why can't you just do that all the time, man? You know what I mean? Like, you were so good when you actually try. And I tell him, like, you have to try more than once a couple months because
Right.
if you go to school and a bully starts picking on you, he's not going to go light on you, right? So you have to be able to know exactly how it feels to receive a lot of force and to exert a lot of force. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
But trying to keep him motivated too. Lately, it's been pretty easy. I kind of just like, hey, I got your gi ready. He's like, we're gonna leave. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna leave in like 20
Just lay
minutes.
it all out for
Yep.
him.
Like everything's ready to go. Like, and he's asked if he could stop doing jujitsu too, and I'm like,
Really?
yeah. He's very introverted. He's uncomfortable with doing a lot of things, but then he's like, I just don't like jujitsu. It's like it's uncomfortable for me. And I'm like, you say that now, but when you're in the middle of class, you're laughing, joking, having
Right.
fun. And then afterwards we leave and you're like, Travis, what was really fun? Was the whole like touching the arm on the shoulder and then running as fast as possible. That was a lot of fun. I'm like, see, man, just stick with it. Like, no matter what you're going through in life, there's going to be times where it's not as fun and times when it's super fun. There's going to be times when it's easy and times when it's really hard. And the value of sticking with something when the times are really hard is knowing you can make it through it and you have that perseverance.
Right.
You know what I mean? When you come to class and it's 2 weeks straight of just not getting anything, getting your butt kicked, there's going to be times like that, and it's okay, right? But knowing that you're fighting through it and you're sticking with it, like I want to teach him that, like, just because it's hard doesn't mean you give up.
That means you need to go.
That means you need to keep going.
Absolutely.
Or if it's too easy, air quotes, what he likes to say sometimes, right? Find someone that's better than you, and then it becomes hard again. And now you have another goal. Keep moving that flag post further and further away, so.
Man. Yeah, I think that's really good that you're teaching him that, because part of the reason why I stayed out of jiu-jitsu for so long was because after I got married, we got settled here. I took a few months off, and then I was like, man, I'm so out of shape. I'm not feeling this, like, this is so hard. I'm going to go to the gym, get myself in shape first, and then I'll go to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And that never happened.
Right. Absolutely.
And so now I'm like 3 years later, way more out of shape than, the original day where I was like, yeah, I'm going to just work out a little bit more and then, come to jiu-jitsu. But, and now I really have to fight through, that getting back in shape part. So.
Yeah. So for I wouldn't say just women, but for newer people that feel like they need to be in shape for jiu-jitsu, what would you say to them then?
Jiu-jitsu will get you in shape.
Yeah.
It will absolutely do it. And jiu-jitsu is hard, starting out especially. But everybody at this gym, especially ours, is so accepting. They don't judge you for being out of shape, or they won't make you go harder than you are capable of. And so it's just like, just get your butt in there and then you'll get in shape. And so, I mean, that's kind of how it worked with me when I joined the first time. Like initially was I wasn't in great shape then either. And then I found myself in the best shape of my life. And I wasn't doing anything but jiu-jitsu at that time. And so.
Yeah. It's kind of like the same side. Like I always reference back to CrossFit and weightlifting, right? Because it's just where I came from. And people will be like, I want to do CrossFit, but I want to get in a little bit better shape before I do it. I'm like, that's not, no. We don't, we're not taking athletes that are in shape and making them in better shape. We're taking the general population is someone that is out of shape and wants to get in shape. And then you see the results of them doing it, right? They weren't like that when they first started. Yeah. They were not like that when they first started. What you're seeing now is them in process, right? So it's like they started the same place that the person on the streets is going, man, I just want to get in a little bit of better shape before I start. It's like, no, come to us. We could fix you. Come to us if you're worried. Like, everyone starts somewhere. I've worked out before doing CrossFit and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. But then once I started doing CrossFit, then, it kind of helped me get into immensely better shape. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like I wrestled a little bit in high school, and then I thought I knew a little bit of grappling, and then and tell you the truth, I thought I was in shape until my first actual live roll. And I was like, this is completely different, right? Like fighting for your life is pretty tiring. So, so if you're worried about being in shape, or you're worried about not being strong enough, or not being fast enough, or not being adequate in one form or fashion, I promise you, the best way to get into what you think is the mold is to just start doing it. You know, so. And
I always tell people too, my dad, when he first got into jiu-jitsu in Tacoma, when he first started as a white belt, he was 40 something years old, probably like 350 pounds, has ankle problems, and everything was against him. He's bigger than a normal jiu-jitsu guy. He's a little bit older than normal jiu-jitsu people, and he's definitely like hasn't done anything like that in many, many years. And so my dad was able to go out and compete. He's able to get his purple belt. He's able to do so much. And it's like, if he can do it, literally anybody can.
Sounds like I need to meet him and share a beer.
You guys will love him. If he could come out to this podcast too, I think he would have so much more to share.
Yes, please. If you connect us with him, Dad, if you're listening, by all means, please come on this show.
Oh, he's definitely going to be listening. Yeah. So he's going to be like, Ashley, you sound so dumb.
Did you tell him you were coming on the show?
Yeah, I called him before I got here today. I was like, Dad, guess what I'm doing?
That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, it's exciting, especially being a smaller podcast. And like, I feel like everyone does a podcast nowadays, but being connected in your community and then bringing people from your community, you see the excitement in people, right? And it kind of it, like we'll talk about in a second, like blue belt blues, but it kind of gets people ignited again to want to go train and stuff like that. And it's very cool to be able to give back to the community that gives us so much. You know what I mean? And yeah, one day we would like to be bigger and be able to do this full time and whatnot, right? But as of right now, it's cool to interview people that give us so much, and it's
motivating.
It's motivating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I like to hear the stories. We don't get to
Yes.
hear them at the gym.
Right.
I didn't get to hear all this at the gym. We show up, we work out, we roll.
yeah, we get some high fives. Like, hey, cool. If I see you in the streets, I'll give you a high five too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Right.
I feel like there's so much more of a personal connection when you're sitting and having a conversation with someone. And that's another reason why we wanted to throw, like a beverage in there, not just an alcoholic beverage. If you guys, once again, if you're ever on the show, it does not have to be alcoholic, but it's kind of like an icebreaker, because ultimately what we're doing here is we're just trying to build like a friendship. We want it to be as organic as possible. You know what I mean? So, and the same thing with jiu-jitsu. It's like you don't want it to come unorganically.
Unorganically, I like that. That's
you like
nice.
that? You
Yeah.
like so artificially?
I think you reach deep for that one. But
Yeah, I
I'll
was like, as it was coming up in my head, I was like, I don't really know.
So, Ashley, let me ask you, what advice would you give some people new to jiu-jitsu? I would go for white belts that may be, doubting what's going on. Should they keep going? Like, what kind of struggles do you remember as a white belt that kept you going?
I remember it being really hard. I was talking about this just this last week too. My professor would always say, switch your hips. And I'd be like, what the heck does that even mean? Switch my hips? Like put my right one on my left one? Like, what does that mean?
Do I have to cut them off?
And then eventually, like, I don't even remember the point where I got it, but I do remember that struggle where I was like, I don't even know how to do that or what that means.
Yes.
Like, it's so confusing. And just to never give up. I remember my professor told me that too when I left the gym with her. She said, Ashley, promise me you'll never give up. And I go, okay, I promise. And I think that's valuable at any level because I don't know a lot about jiu-jitsu, but what I do know is that, like, on my worst days, if I come to jiu-jitsu, I leave class feeling great.
That's awesome.
And you don't find that in anything, really, And so just to give up something like that, for me anyways, would be a huge loss.
Yeah.
And so just keep going. You'll learn. Even black belts learn stuff every day. Purple belts learn stuff every day. I learn stuff every day as a blue belt.
Yeah.
Brown belts, I, for some reason, skip them, but they learn stuff too, And so,
yeah.
if they're struggling with learning, it's just a part of life.
Right. So what gets you through because you've been at blue belt for how long now?
Ooh, I got my blue belt almost 4 years ago, and I took 3 years off.
So you were a blue belt consistently for a year, pretty much, right?
No, I like got my blue belt. I trained for maybe another month at that gym, and then I moved here. I trained a few months here, a few months there, between 253 or hybrid or Pacific Northwest. I mean, you guys have seen how inconsistent I can be even with us.
Yeah.
And so I've just been a blue belt kind of sporadically other places.
So what advice would you give to people that are blue belts? Because they always say blue belt's the longest belt, right? Like, because you're trying to discover who you are and whatnot. Like the blue belt blues, what would you recommend or give advice to people that are kind of going through the blue belt blues?
I think the same thing. Just never give up. It's okay if a white belt taps you out. I actually, like, if somebody were to get something on me, I'd be like, man, that was really good. Good job. Like, but it's really important to keep that humility, especially as a blue belt, because that's your first, like, real promotion to another belt. And you think you're supposed to, the blue belt, you think you're supposed to, like, be so much better than all these white belts, and they look at you and they have all these expectations, but you're still just on the mats learning, trying to get your workout, trying to, do your best every single day too. And so I think the important thing is to keep that humility and just keep going and always be learning.
Right. That's one thing that makes me nervous about getting a blue belt is the expectation that newer people have when they see a colored belt. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to be in the middle of a class and then I'm training with the white belt and say I'm a blue belt, right? And I just don't want to be like, I don't know what the hell they're talking about either. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's like, but at some point there will always be a point where no one else knows what someone's talking about besides the person talking about it. You know what I mean? But it's definitely one of the thing that makes me nervous about being a colored belt is that expectation of, like, you know, and it's not even like our school alone because we like dropping in at other schools and we travel. So like saying being a blue belt and then traveling overseas or going to another gym and then they see that blue belt and the expectation. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm a blue belt at my school. I don't know what your blue belts learned. You know what I mean? Or,
so a good example is before we went to Japan, we're like, man, it'd be nice to get a blue belt before we went to Japan. Thank God we didn't.
Thank God we didn't.
Thank God.
Enjoy your white belts.
That's what I'm there now.
Yeah.
I'm there now. I'm good. I'm good. Like I don't even worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I understand now that it's just it doesn't even matter. Like it's if you're good, like if you understand it and you're good and you know what's going on and you're flowing, it doesn't matter what belt you're at. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, we talked about it literally just the other day, and I was like, man, before we went to Japan, I can't believe how hard I was kind of stressing about, like, I really want my blue belt. I really want my blue belt, right? And in my head, I was like, I could be a blue belt.
I remember it, yeah.
And then we got to Japan, and they're like, oh, no, yeah, you guys could be blue belts. Now looking back at what I was like, even just 6 months ago, I was like, no way was I. I was not. Yeah. No, I was not. But it's like what is – everyone has an expectation that's different to be a blue belt, right? They have a different requirement. You know what I mean? So it's and that's another hard thing to understand is like, what is the requirement? Like, what is the general consensus of what a blue belt is, right? Because if you drop it in another school, they can be like, well, our blue belts know this. Like, well, I ain't one of your blue belts. So, but that's one thing that always goes through our head is obviously as a white belt is that promotion, right? So, what was it like getting your blue? Was it a surprise?
It kind of was. I remember. So I'm just kind of a goofy person in general, and so when I'm on the mats, I made really good friends with the guys at my last gym, and I feel like I'm making good friends here too. But on the mats, I would just joke around and laugh and sing songs. Like,
you're funny,
I
for
was
sure.
really goofy on the mats. And I remember my professor leading up to it, she was like, Ashley, you're almost a blue belt. Take it seriously. So I kind of knew it was on her radar. But when I got it, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in such shock right now. And I was really happy. I was excited about it. But then, there was that whole expectation like, oh my gosh, I'm a blue belt now. What does that actually mean? I'm not competing for a while,
Yeah, we worry about I don't want to say we worry about it, but I don't know if you've known our school so far has only made 2 blue belts. Nate and Phil. That's been about it so far. And I know that was pretty early on, and I was like, man, like those expectations at that level, and like Nate's been really good. Like he shows up at the kids class, he helps out, and I'm like, man, I just don't know if I'd even be comfortable with people thinking I know it that well. You know what I mean? Where you could teach it. Like I'm a horrible teacher. Like oh man, I just don't know if I could teach anything. That's tough.
Yeah, I don't know if it's completely normal for blue belts to teach everywhere. Like, that's a huge opportunity for Nate and Phil is to be able to help teach like that. Yeah. Because, you learn better when you're teaching.
Yeah, for sure.
You learn a lot from teaching, actually. But at a lot of gyms, I don't think they would put a blue belt in charge that way. And so I don't think you have to worry about that too much about.
Well, we were earlier. Now we're not. Like we're good. Everyone's good now. Like we're fine now. Right. But I mean, early on, I was like, oh hell no, Even like, don't even call me up there to ask me. I'll draw a blank. I'm horrible at tests. Like don't even.
Right.
I was out of here. Did you test for your blue belt or?
So the way my professor, she did it before I got my blue belt was, you were gonna get your next stripe or your next belt when she would roll with you all the time. So, after class, you have your open mat, and she'll roll with you. And so what she does, I think, I've never asked her about it, was she would just kind of do what she knows, what she thinks a blue belt should be able to get out of, or the different techniques that a blue belt should do. And over a course of, I swear it'd be like a week or 2, she would be testing you without you knowing that you're testing. Just during the open mats.
That's what I need. Yeah, I would have to have it that way. It's like when my wife says, smile for the camera, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, catch me in the wild. Like,
don't
ask me
in
to
the
do
wild.
it.
How about that?
If I got to smile at the camera, it's going to look horrible. Just catch me in the wild.
Yeah. If you look at the picture of our logo, the Elbows Type Podcast logo, with the logo in the center, and that's John and I's face, that was John smiling to the camera. He's like,
I'm not good at it. Like I'm
Johnny,
never good on the spot. I get
me
it.
Me neither.
John, you don't have to perk your lips up to show your friends.
Yeah,
it's okay.
I'm with you. I get it.
Man.
So, well, that's cool. Is there any females in jiu-jitsu that you look up to?
There's a lot. I think the biggest female that I look up to in jiu-jitsu, I have two of them. One of them would obviously be my previous professor, Miriam. She's just so good at everything she does. She's very thorough. She's quick. She's detail-oriented. She's awesome. She was always so nice and great at teaching. And then the other person that I look up to in jiu-jitsu is probably my best friend, Sarah. She lives down in Phoenix, and she trains jiu-jitsu as well. And we talk about it all the time, and she keeps me motivated too. So
That's
my biggest
cool.
support systems are probably my husband, my dad, and then my best friend, Sarah. And I look up to Sarah because she's good at things that I'm not. I don't know why she hasn't gotten her blue belt yet, but she hasn't.
She been training as long as you, or?
I think not as long as me. She's been training for, I think, 4 years now. In the time that I took off, she's been training. Like right after I got married, or right before I got married, she started training jiu-jitsu. And then we started hanging out a lot because of it. But yeah, she's really good, but she's so much tougher and much more motivated than I am. I'm not very competitive. And so she helps bring that competitive side out of me when we roll or when we talk. And so that's the other person I look up to.
That's cool. You mentioned a lot about your husband and how he trains. How does he feel about you training by yourself? Like, is there anything that goes on between that, or?
No, not at all, actually. I told my husband when we first started dating, because jiu-jitsu came before he did. And
Yeah.
so I told my husband, I go, hey, like, this is something that I dedicate a lot of my time to. I love it, and this is a huge part of who I am. And I told him straight up, and it's kind of, you could probably edit this out if you want to. But I told him, I was like, guys are literally between my legs all day. I was like,
That's
so
funny.
it's not
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
I was like, it's not sexual, but it's very weird to a lot of people.
Right.
And I'm not going to stop that because you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And he sees how happy it makes me.
That's good.
He notices I'm a lot less cranky when I do jiu-jitsu, so it benefits
Hey,
him.
I noticed that my damn self. I was
Yeah.
like, not you're as mad anymore.
And so he totally supports it 100%.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, you got a great sense of humor. That's good. I
Yeah,
like it.
I know. John always tells me the story. He's like, I was rolling with Ashley, and she sniffed me. He's like, you smell great.
Did I do that?
You did. You smell good, and I was thinking, and it was so funny, like, because I stopped and I laughed internally, and I was like, she's hilarious. I like
Yeah.
this.
I'm so weird.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's why I'm like, you need to show up more often because you're funny.
Absolutely.
Yeah, show
please.
up.
Oh, man.
And like I'm trying, like it'd be great for like Lordell to see someone like you with
Yeah.
like another woman with a colored belt, because we don't have any at the school. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like it's very motivating. Like you said, like you could be that
Yep.
that.
So now we're
spearhead,
gonna
you know?
call you out all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
time because we had this.
I'm gonna be on the.
Dude, please do. I know Shar, keeps me accountable all the time, and she actually texted me this morning like, hey, are you awake for jiu-jitsu tonight? You're coming to women's class, right? And sometimes I need that kick in the butt.
Was
because
Lordell there for the?
She wasn't.
Oh,
I'm
sounds
about
like she missed a good
baby,
one.
when you listen to this later, you told me you were going.
I don't think I remembered seeing her.
You would remember seeing her because
Yep.
she'd be like, "Am I doing this right?"
No.
Now we're gonna be like, it'd be cool if you showed up at like a 5 o'clock kids class and if you could ask if you could help with that. That'd be interesting.
I don't know.
If you ever get time for that, I'm just saying.
It is on your schedule.
I'll wait till I'm asked before I ask to do something like that typically.
Then my wonderful daughters will see you up there and they'll be like, "We can do it."
Oh, that's true. That's true. Maybe.
Just saying.
Put her on the spot. She's
I'm not
like-
putting any pressure on you. I'm
Let
just,
me work
you know,
on getting to these adult classes.
It's a thought. It's just a
first,
thought.
You know?
Because you always learn best by teaching.
That's true.
Who said that?
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
I'm raising my hand over
Yeah.
here.
I think I said
she
it
said it 20
earlier.
minutes ago.
No.
I'm just bringing it back up.
So what is the hardest? Like, what is the thing that motivates you the most to get to class or stops you the most from getting to class? Then, because you mentioned a lot that you're very inconsistent. Like, what is it that stops you?
I think we actually touched on it a little bit earlier. The thing that's been really hard for me, it's all been internal, like
Yeah.
with me. It's just knowing that I have this blue belt and people like look at me with these expectations, and it's really discouraging to see like I can't do a lot of the warm-up. Sometimes I'm not as flexible as I used to be. My body doesn't move the way it used to. And
Right.
so that can be pretty discouraging, but what keeps me going is how I feel afterwards and all
Yeah.
the people that I meet and how happy I am, you know, because it still does make me very happy. It just sucks being like, man, I used to be so good at this and now I'm not.
You're still very good.
I would not let that stop you. There's things I cannot do, and I stand on the side when they do it. Like, I don't even.
I think that's true for anyone, because just because like you have an idea of like you just said, like what you once were, or like it's hard or something like that, that should not be, to me it should not be a demotivating factor. It should be a motivating factor. Like, I can't do these Granby rolls, or I can't do these shrimps just right, so I'm going to keep going, because the only way I'm going to get better at it is not by sitting on the sideline being mad about it, but getting back in there and doing it. You know what I mean? So like Lauderdale's, she's like, once again, I think she was a little bit discouraged about how much there is to learn and how hard it is. I was like, well, the only way you're going to get better is by doing it. So don't let it discourage you. Let it motivate you. You know what I mean? And that's how I just look at it. I'm the type of person that's glass is always half full. You know what I mean? It's
He's
never
so
empty.
Bubbly.
Why you gotta do that, bro?
I'm just saying. And I know you said the Granby roll because of me. Don't think I didn't know.
Right. So that's why John, when the second the Granby roll comes up, like he's like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and sit on this. Like, well, you're never gonna get it then.
Never gonna get that one. I'll just hang out on that one.
Yep.
So
don't let that stop you. I always tell people the hardest part is just showing up.
Right, and that's absolutely so
100% true.
It's so true. And so I just gotta get my lazy butt out of the chair or whatever it is I'm doing and get out of there.
I'll put that in my calendar. See you tonight.
Right.
Hey, I'm gonna hit her up on Facebook and Instagram now. Like, actually, where you at? It's almost time for class.
Were you doing something more important or something?
Like more important than your happiness.
Right. You need to start taking care of yourself, Ashley.
No, I mean, I'm not gonna go that far.
He will.
I told John that. Yes, I do tell John that. I'm like, John, you're looking terrible right now, man. Maybe you should get back in the gym.
Right.
We do have a CrossFit side too. Just throwing that out there.
Man, I don't know. So I'm not. The thing that I love about jiu-jitsu is I'm not coordinated at all.
Me too.
So
Preach.
I'm already on the ground. Like, I don't even have to fall. I don't have anything to trip over. Like, I'm already there, you know? And so that's what I love about jiu-jitsu. I just imagine if I did CrossFit, I'd just be on my butt 90% of the time.
That's so funny. I see Ashley falling in public and then front rolling to like open guard. And she's like, oh, wrong scenario.
Right.
I'm so bad. If Professor is showing a movement and he's facing us, I want to turn and be in the same position he is just to mirror it. And I'm like, hold on. It's like he's backwards. How am I doing this from here? Horrible
oh,
coordination.
Man, I can't see his hands. What's he
John,
doing?
John loves, like, any movement has the most steps in the process of doing it. John's in love with it. He's like, 15 steps to get there, done. Got it.
I think it's clear now that I'm the guy in class that's going to ask. Like, they just look at me. Everybody get it?
What was it? The other day, Logan, one of our blue belts, he coaches a lot of classes. He sat there, and he's like, is there any questions? And he looks at John, and John's like, he's like, John, you look like you have a question. He's like, I have no idea what's going on right now.
I'm like, hey, you know, the first year I wouldn't ask. I'd just try to get down. I'm like, hey, I do not understand what you're saying right here.
That is so funny. It's like, all right, ready, and break. And John's like, still playing through his head, like, what the heck am I supposed to do? Misses the clap and everything. That's another funny thing. Watch it, like, because we do the 1-2 clap, right? And then Lauderdale, I forgot. Before Lauderdale's first class, I did a terrible job. I did not brace her for anything like that was going on. And so I was telling her, I was like, during the class, like, oh, by the way, it's 1-2 clap. And she's like, oh, okay. And it's like, ready, 1-2, break. And then we would clap, and Lauderdale be in the background like, you almost got it, baby. You're getting there. You're getting there. But if anyone shows up to class now, like any of my friends, you gotta give like a 5-minute brief. Like, here's how we do it. You bow on, you bow off. Like the words to do this, the words to do that. Like, because there's like so many nuances that that we take for granted now that we're just muscle memory for doing. So.
Man, you're a really good friend, because whenever I bring my friends, I'm like, yeah, just come wear something kind of comfortable-ish, maybe some sandals, and then that's it. Like,
do you try to convince your friends often to do it?
Oh, absolutely.
Me too.
I don't know if you remember my first class. You probably don't, but I brought 2 of my friends. One was my really good friend Jake, and then my other friend was Alan. And Jake really wants to. He was a wrestler growing up, and he wants to come in. But him and his girlfriend, they just had a baby, and so they're both gonna try to come in together when they're ready. But yeah, I always try to bring my friends. I'm telling my coworkers right now, like, hey, come to jiu-jitsu. Have your wives come to jiu-jitsu. Have your kids come to jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
So.
At work, I do it all the time because we have one of our people that work in the office. She has a younger son that's 9. He's about to be 9, and I'm like, hey, it's great for 9-year-olds. Learning some self-defense, get some jiu-jitsu in there, to calm them down, teach them how to defend themselves, and this and that. I think we talk about it to everyone all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure people are tired about hearing about our jiu-jitsu
They're
experience.
like, okay, we get it. You're macho. You do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
They say the same thing to me.
All right. It's cool. We get it. It's like Chris talked about it when he was on our show. And he's like, you guys are so dedicated to it right now. Like, people, you're in love with it. Like, you're motivated to do it. And then when, you talk to it about, people are like, oh, what belt are you? I'm like, I'm a white belt.
Every
like,
time we say that, they're like, oh.
They're like, oh, so you suck. I'm like, that's not it. You think that, but come to the mat.
I've had a couple of blue belts come in the office. And, I mean, I don't feel like we're so new that, it's been almost 2 years. We're still liking it. It's not like it's been 2 months or a year, but I've had a couple guys come in and we'll talk about it. And they're like, oh, what belt are you? And I'm like, what? And they're like, oh. And I'm like, geez, come on, really? It's been 2 years. We're good.
Yeah.
I mean, not that we're good, but we're good at this point. We've totally accepted jiu-jitsu. It's part of our life now. That's just the way it is.
There's very few reasons for us to miss it now. Besides us just being lazy or tired or a long work day or something.
Yeah, who does that?
What?
I totally remember what that was like. But I don't think people realize, when you're in, Taekwondo or karate or any other martial arts, really, you get your next colored belt pretty quick.
Yeah.
But with jiu-jitsu, it's 8 years to get a black belt if you go, multiple times a week.
Right.
If you're really dedicated. It takes much longer to get a promotion in jiu-jitsu than any other sport, I feel like.
I saw something, and it was in Taekwondo, it takes 3 or 4 years to get your black belt in Taekwondo. And I was like, that seems kind of quick. But then in jiu-jitsu, and if I'm wrong, correct me on the gram, DM me. But but in jiu-jitsu, it's 8 to 10 years to get your black belt. And that's consistently training.
Right.
And winning competitions or doing good in competitions or whatever, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So for a kid, it could be kind of, discouraging. And that's why we talk about, I think that's why they have so many colored belts for kids before they get to the blue belt, the adult blue belt, is to keep them motivated to keep pushing through it. So
kids can't get their adult blue belt until they're 16.
Yeah, right. But that's why they have they have
the rules.
Gray, they have gray white, they have orange, white, yellow, all those. I
think some have green in there.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's pretty crazy because even judo, if you're a black belt in judo, you're a blue belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And so, it's it just comes to show you could do all this work to get a black belt in one sport, but it only equates to the second belt in jiu-jitsu, you know? And so.
Yeah, we knew a couple black belts in judo in Japan because obviously judo's huge in Japan.
Yeah.
And, most of them were white or blue belts in jiu-jitsu. But the way to advance in judo, they were telling me, I was like, so how do you get your belts in judo? And they're like, oh, it's all point-based. I was like, what do you mean point-based? Like, by competing, the only way to really advance in judo is you have to compete.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So each time you do a competition, whether you win or lose, you get a point, right? But if you win, you get more points, and then each belt, you need a certain amount of points registered through the judo association or whatever to advance in your belt. And I was like, that's so
cool.
crazy.
So what he's not telling you is our first open mat in Japan, the international judo team was there.
For Japan.
And they were trying to work on their jiu-jitsu game. So we just happened to show up for open mat, and they were all there. And
I'm talking world class.
And they're looking at us, and they're not speaking English either. And they're like, and I was like, okay. And I immediately pulled guard. because I had no idea what to do standing on my feet.
Yeah.
We had never
Yeah.
went through that before. Like we didn't know anything standing up yet.
Nope, not really.
So I immediately pulled guard. Like that
I would
was
have
it.
done the same thing.
I was sparring with one of the judo black belts, and he's like, "You wanna stand up?" I was like, "Do I want to stand up?" I was like, "No, I don't want to stand up. Are you crazy?" But I stood up with him, and I mean, he was like going for trips and stuff like that, a couple of throws, but he never really got anything. And afterwards, like, "Oh man, your judo is really good." I was like, I feel like you were playing with me the whole time. Like he definitely could have finished me multiple times, but like I showed a little bit of resistance, kind of like, I don't know, he just kind of like let it go. But and then we had a judo black belt out in Japan that was a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and he was showing judo throws one time in class. I think you had left when Yoshi was doing the judo class, but he competed for in judo and everything like that, obviously. But in the middle of us training together, he was like, "Hey, let's do some judo to warm up." I was like, "Okay, fine, whatever." And I didn't know you don't pick legs anymore in judo. You don't like. There's certain things you don't do in judo because they're kind of like anti-wrestling now. And I was doing all of it, right? And then afterwards, I was like, "Yeah, you don't grab legs anymore. You don't really do this or that in judo." And I was like, I literally was doing all of that. Like, I felt so
No, you
bad.
don't know till you know.
Yeah, right. Have you ever
Right.
tried any other combat sports besides jiu-jitsu, like judo or kickboxing or anything like that?
So I tried judo one time, and then I've also tried Krav Maga one time.
Oh,
And so the Krav Maga class, I think, was like one of those self-defense classes that they just offer on Groupon.
uh-huh.
And I didn't feel like it offered much at all. It just seemed kind of, I don't know, it was kind of weird to me. It seemed like one of those cardio kickboxing type classes.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what Krav Maga is, right?
Yeah, I know, it's really intense. But
Yeah.
the class that I went to
Oh,
wasn't,
okay, yeah.
wasn't that
You're
way.
like this is kind of like
Right.
like tempo kickboxing.
Right. And so I've done that. When I was in middle school, I tried wrestling.
Oh, not very women try wrestling either.
Yeah, I don't know why I tried wrestling, but I did. And then nobody wanted to wrestle me because I was a girl.
That's so funny.
And so there was one guy that ended up wrestling me and ended up hurting my back pretty bad.
Oh no.
In the match, and then I was like, I quit. You
Oh,
know?
no.
So I did quit wrestling. Other than that, I played soccer through high school, and then I swam. So
Swimming's hard. I was surprised how hard swimming actually was when I first like started swimming. I was like, this is not easy. I swam like a lap in the pool, and I was like, I'm good. I'm gonna go ahead and just stop doing that.
yeah, it does take a lot out of you.
Yeah. So do you feel like any? You said you still swim now.
From time to time.
Yeah.
You know, when I can get in there, but just the way that the gym that I go to works, the timing just doesn't match up with work and everything.
Yeah.
So.
You don't ever try to go like on base or something like that? And
Well, see, they have I could go probably before work, but then after work it's like pretty crowded.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like I just hate going to the gym on base
yeah,
after work.
I don't blame you. Me too. We're trying to we're looking to buy a house right now, and John and I are trying to convince our wives to, like, hey, you know, we all kind of work in the same area. We could all meet up on base and, you know, work out at the gym on base, save a bunch of money, and
Right.
Well, the banger base, way less
Yeah.
traffic.
yeah, way less traffic.
banger one is much
beautiful
nicer.
base too, right? So, but all right, well, John, you got any other questions, man?
No, I think it was great. It was nice having you on the show.
Ashley, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's great. Hopefully we can have you on again because it's been a fun experience.
And your dad.
So.
We can
Yeah,
we can you can
I'll
both
bring
be
my
here.
dad.
both of you could come
Yeah, at
in.
the same time. We've done that before. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Maybe I will. Hey,
yeah.
Dad, you want to come?
Invitations out there.
You can hit us up on Instagram.
Right.
So, hey, but thank you guys so much for listening. Once again, don't forget to go ahead and pause it right now. If you're pausing it right now. So go ahead, subscribe, leave us a comment, like, and everything like that. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook, like our page on Facebook. Ashley, do you want to shout out your social media or anything like that? You got an Instagram that you post on and about puppies or anything?
I do. I have an Instagram for me, and then I also have an Instagram for my dog.
No, shout out
And
to the dog Instagram then.
Dodger the Boxer.
Dodger the Boxer. Hey,
Yeah.
I have a dog Instagram too.
Really?
Blaze the Foxfire Doberman on Instagram.
I'm in there. I'll follow it right now.
So John, thank you so much for coming through. John's got a whole bunch.
I don't know how to use any of that
responsibilities.
stuff, so
Yeah.
whatever.
John has Twitter and he has Instagram. He doesn't use either one of them. I always tag him and stuff.
Well, I
but
need a lesson on like 15 minutes of how to use this.
I got you.
You have our social media El Presidente
Mm.
as your wife.
Yeah, that's true. Oh well.
So hey, but guys, thank you so much, and we will see you guys next time. Remember, no oil checks here. Later.
Later.
Bye.
That's it.